Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kṛṣṇa. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kṛṣṇa. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Tuesdays. Remember when Tuesday used to be Arranged Marriage Tuesday?
Yeah. You dropped that, huh?
That was good. I wouldn't let that one go. It got laughs every time.
Was it good, Raghunath? But you were the only one laughing, though. That was the thing. Okay, be careful. Don't
ever laugh just because one person's laughing? Ever do that? One person's just like really laughing, and you just can't stop laughing because of that.
True. That's true. Okay, you laugh, and the world laughs with you, Raghunath.
Yeah, I was having a meeting with Jiva G and Maya Poor Moon the other day, and they both burst into laughter. Something like I didn't know about. I wasn't on the laughter, and I was like, "Are you guys okay?" And they just kept on laughing and laughing. I was like, "Oh, I get it. They're laughing at me, laughing at me here."
The more I ask about it, the more they laugh.
I couldn't even laugh. And it hurts to me to laugh, so I can't laugh today. We're gonna keep this show very grave and flat. What do you say? Like NPR.
All right.
All right, Kṛṣṇa, what's the news?
That's no particular news over here. Just ready to get into it. But I'm sure Mara may have some special,
some interesting,
fascinating.
Back to recovery group meetings today. The men are meeting at noon and the women meet at 2 p.m. There's an asana class for our Patreon members with Radha Dasi at 10 a.m.
All right.
Pretty good. I got to mention our me and Cindy and Bobby are doing our 200-hour Bhakti Vinyas Yoga Teacher Training at Super Soul Farm this summer, July 13th to the July 28th. And I'm also doing a retreat in June. Oh, they sign up for that. They can go to my link tree in my bio or my website, raghunath.yoga. Hey, whenever we post something with either on Instagram or on Wisdom of the Sages Instagram, or I post something on Instagram, you do great service by like sharing those little nuggets on your stories. It's really good and important because sometimes people are just looking for a little thing to like help them through the course of a day. Sometimes the course of a day is a tough mountain they have to climb. You know, ever had one of those days, Mara?
Yes.
You have
mental health.
little
day break.
Yeah, you need a little mental health day. I almost didn't show up for the podcast today. I needed a mental health day today.
Really?
But Mara was like, no mental health day for you. She runs a tight ship here. All right, my friend. What do you say? I read you a nugget.
Yeah. Who's it from?
Okay. This is from Walt Whitman. Not to be confused with Walt Disney.
Do you like Walt Whitman?
What's that?
Do you like Walt Whitman?
What do you write? I can't remember.
Leaves of Grass was, I think, his most famous book, which was a collection of his poetry. I Sing the Body Electric is probably his most famous poem.
In all truth, I'm a little Walt Whitman illiterate.
Okay.
But I'm going to read his quote. I want to hear you speak about it.
All right.
Keep your face always towards the sunshine,
Yeah.
and shadows will fall behind you.
You want me to run with
Walking in sunshine.
that? You had to do it.
It makes me feel.
I thought we were going to keep this sober and flat NPR. Right now. That didn't last very long.
I mean, that was a setup, man. How was I not supposed to sing that after that quote?
No,
Who sang that song? Who sang that song?
I forget. I think it was kind of a one-hit wonder person.
Was it? Was it the one who sang "Girls Just Want to Have Fun"?
No, it was not Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. Okay.
Okay, so Walt Whitman, read it again.
Keep your face always towards the sunshine. Walking in sunshine, and shadows will fall behind you.
Okay.
Katrina and the waves. Okay.
So in one sense, I think there are different ways you can approach this, right? In one sense, maybe he's just speaking about optimism, right? Like if you're optimistic, turn to see the good, see what's bright in life. Don't, practically it's a metaphor, right? In other words, like say you have a lamp.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking right at the lamp, you're not going to see any shadows. If you turn away from the lamp, you're going to see your own shadow, right? And so, I'm not honestly, I don't know exactly where this quote is from, but it could be understood in terms of being optimistic in life. But I see it. I approach it in another way. And I approach it, Sri Caitanya almost said the same thing. You know that verse from Caitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya Sama Māyā Andhakara?
No, I don't know that
Krishna,
one.
you've heard that before. Krishna Surya Sama Māyā Andhakara. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikara. That Krishna is compared to the sunshine, Maya is compared to the darkness.
Achha.
Right? Wherever there's sunshine, there cannot be darkness.
Mm.
That sounds like, even that, like you could take it like superficially but actually that's a key to understanding everything.
Well, Krishna is the source of, we talk about walk towards the light, walk towards truth, have a positive mental attitude. You replace that with Krishna, the positive mental attitude. There is no positive mental attitude without Krishna, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's like a cow being led to a slaughterhouse, having a good attitude. What good is that? You're about to get killed. We understand that the positive mental attitude is to serve our transcendence. It's not just an end in of itself, or else ultimately nothing's really positive or sunny. There's no sunny day in a world of birth and death. You know what I like about the devotees? They really take it to the darkest level quick. The material world's a miserable place filled with suffering. Your beautiful body, your sexy, beautiful body is a bag of stool and blood. If you read these old Vedic books like that, that's what they're going to say. This body you're adorning, it reeks of various smells. It's a giant, hefty, glad bag of blood and foul-smelling things. But you're not that. Isn't that good news? It's the first you got to get real dark before you can invite the sun in, and that sun is Krishna.
Okay, well, but okay, that's a very interesting interpretation. But I think what I'm saying is related to what you're saying.
Interesting interpretation.
It's a very interesting interpretation.
Validating me
right out there. But there's how just like you may have like a code, right? What are you laughing about? What are you,
hefty glad bag of.
We need to get you a little bit grounded today, Ragnar. A little bit grounded. You're the one that came and said we're going to be totally serious today, and you're like,
I know, but I'm just thinking a hefty glad bag of foul-smelling liquids. Okay.
So, like when you have a code, like when spies and stuff, there's like you can have a sheet of paper that just has like all of these letters on it.
Okay.
And it appears to have no meaning. But if you know the code, you have the key to the code. Like if simplest code would be like every letter represents the next letter, right? Right. I mean, that would be like.
Seems like you are quite a detective, because
well,
seems like you've written letters in code before.
but like, so if you have the key, what doesn't make any sense makes perfect sense. You just need to but you need to read everything according to the key. And once you have that key, everything makes sense. You with me?
This is, this is reminding me of the Mormon Church. They found, this is a massive squirrel, but
yeah, I had a feeling that was the case.
The Book of Mormon is all written in code. And then who was it? Adam Smith, John Smith? He found the massive decoder plates.
Joseph Smith, I think.
Joseph Smith, the massive decoder plates. And he decoded the entire Book of Mormon with these decoder plates.
Okay, that's great.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
And then they can't find the plates, though.
Let's just
find the plates. I'd give them more weight.
Let's
just
try to
mysteriously disappeared. Okay, now let's bring it back to what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. So something can be a big confusion. When you have the key, everything is illuminated. But the thing is, you have to see everything through the key.
Okay.
Now, there's a verse. Bhagavatam is so incredible because you have it lets us drop in on the most important conversations that have ever taken place universally.
That's a nice way. Yes, it's a history of universal conversations.
Yeah, like we like interviews. People like to tune in and see, Barbara Walters interviewing someone, or
yeah, like who's getting interviewed on whatever podcast. But and by the way, and people have brought up this question, like, how do they know these conversations took place? That's like a skeptic's like, who's recording this conversation between Vidur and Maitreya? Who was there with the tape recorder, with the Radio Shack tape recorder recording this, right? And the answer is the sages. This is eternal truths. The sages can tune into it and then pull it down. This is, what's the word? Apurusheya. This is
Apurusheya means it has no material origin.
Has no material origin.
What's the word what's the Sanskrit word for sky? Akash. The Akasha record, right? It's like
the Akashic records.
Yeah. I mean, that may sound, someone may say, "Oh, that's the most silly." But
is it?
But quite frankly, if someone would have said, we go back to like the iPhone or something, right? It's like, how can you, like, for someone from the past, if someone from the past was zoomed to the future, to the present, and they saw us using like cell phones, and they would say, "Hold it, what are you talking about?"
How about a Bic lighter?
How about you let me finish the sentence?
Fire stick.
But Raghunath, I just need a little.
I'm sorry.
A little cooperation here, okay? Just a little bit.
It even hurts, so I'll stop.
So if one person is calling another person over phone, and someone from the past saw this and they said, "Explain how this is taking place," you say, "Well, there are waves that are going through the air."
Mm-hmm.
They would be like, "What are you talking about? That's like absurd. There are no waves in the air." So in the Vedic, they say there's an Akashic record. Actually, people can tune into it. It's floating around. You can pick it up.
We just never developed those receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, a person who does physical yoga every day, like, Lori Pag, master yogini on our show, listens every day, and a lot of people that listen to yoga every day, someone will say, "Oh, my lower back hurts," and they'll be like, "Well, maybe you should be doing this with your body." They're so in tune with the body that they know exactly when they get some pain in another part of their body, they can feel like, "Oh, that's because you're not doing this with your body," and they know exactly where that pain is coming from. Or a acupuncturist, you've got a headache, and the acupuncturist feels your pulse. He says, "Okay, now I'm going to stick a needle in your calf." A needle in my calf? I got a pain in my head. Yeah, but that's because it's getting triggered from this meridian. So when you understand it, it shines light on it. But you need to understand the code, as Kṛṣṇa was saying.
Yeah, the key to the
keys.
So where was I again?
The golden plates.
No, it wasn't the golden plates. The conversations, right?
So these conversations are retained in sort of the Akashic records.
Okay, but I wasn't even concerned about the Akashic record. I was concerned about the conversation.
Okay. I like the fact that you went there.
Okay, so Bhagavatam is going to say, let's zoom in on a conversation between Lord Vishnu, the source of everything, and Lord Brahma, the person that he entrusts to engineer the entire universe. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What did I just say, Raghunath?
Let's
please a a little.
Blame Jujitsunath. He's writing on the message board. He's telling me he found these plates in upstate New York. Do you know that? Anyway, it's Jujitsunath. I'm serious, Jujitsunath. You got to just stop writing me messages.
All right. I'm
going
to give up at a certain point here. I'm going to give up.
Sorry. I apologize. Let's try this again.
Okay. So you have a conversation between Vishnu and you have and he's speaking to Brahma. That's a fascinating idea. That you know, like, even if you set aside one skepticism for a moment and just think about what this is trying to show, that is a very fascinating idea. Okay, let's hear what you think that conversation would be, even if you think it's fictional, right? And so then you have this Chatur Shloki. This is in the second canto of the Bhagavatam, where Vishnu's speaking to Brahma, and he gives him kind of like a code, like he gives him a key to a code, right? In these 4 verses, and he says this. He says, "O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, or whatever appears to be truth, if it is without relationship to me, it has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in the darkness." Right? So he's saying, if you want to understand, you can know so much about this world, but it's illusory until you have the key through which to see it. And that key is its connection to its source, right? That key is Krishna. If you always keep your face through, so when Walt Whitman is saying, keep your face always toward the sunshine, shadows will fall behind you. If you see everything through that key, there's no illusion. You understand it. And that means in terms of our possessions, in terms of our responsibilities, in terms of our relationships, in terms of our entire lives. The Bhakti Yogi is saying, I see it all in relationship with that original source. And when I see it that way, it becomes liberating. It becomes illuminating. It leads towards light. It leads towards freedom. And if I forget that, it leads towards darkness. It leads towards bondage.
Now, here's what I hear. Here's what I hear. There's 4 types of people out there. This just came to me. This is a download I'm just getting. The first person...
You're taking it from the Akashic record here? You're just downloading it?
Ouch! Ouch! That hurts. Okay. Say nothing funny, please.
I didn't.
First, there's people who are just not even thinking about life. They're just going around like animals. Then there's people who are a little bit positive. Perhaps it's Walt Whitman or someone just with a positive mental attitude. They just got a good attitude. Not so philosophical, but they just got a good attitude.
Okay.
Then there's the very, very deep thinkers who are like, what's the point of a positive mental attitude? I'm going to die. Who cares if I've got like an existentialist, an Albert Camus, a Nietzsche or something? They're figuring, what is the point of this crazy existence? And we try to get together and join and try to fall in love, and we try to have some fun. What's the big deal? Our life is like a drop of water tottering on a lotus leaf. Who cares? And then there's the Vaishnava, who's actually seeing everything through that lens. And fully accepting, and I get it. So, a lot of people say, yeah, you spiritual people, you don't see the bigger picture. There's no meaning to this universe. There's nothing. You're just making up some pie in the sky when you die. But no. We are actually keeping at the forefront of our minds the temporality of our body, of our existence. We talk about this every day. We don't own our children. We don't own our house. We don't own our car. We don't own anything. We talk about this stuff every day. Life is temporary. It's not our body. We're going to die. It sounds so depressing, but we take it to that next level. So Walt Whitman either is number 2 or he's the highest. You know what I mean? He's either gotten past the existentialist, or he's sort of like, I'm just, walk on the sunny side of the street, stuff like that. But we're taking this like we see the actual beauty in the Reformation process because we see Krishna as reforming us, and Krishna reclaiming us, and Krishna making us fall in love. And even though the whole material world might crumble around us, the devotees are in bliss. Even Queen Kunti, she's praying for, let calamities come. Let calamities come to me. Let my whole world fall apart. Because at that time, I see that actually you're right behind this, Krishna. You're behind this, and you're calling me out, and you're calling me forward. It's the highest in positive mental attitudes, Krishna consciousness.
I agree with you, Raghunath. I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You okay? You worked up a sweat right there.
I sweat. Ask Mara. My hefty glad bag of foul liquids are coming out of my shirt.
TMI, Raghunath.
Okay, sorry.
Let's.
Ouch. Okay.
Let's get into it.
You ready to go into the Srimad Bhagavatam, sir?
I am. It's the key, right?
It's the key.
Key to the code.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is ever a means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. First time Katrina and the waves were talked about in a Bhagavatam class.
And hopefully
that was
the last.
Yeah, might be the last. Might continue. Who knows where they're at spiritually? Okay. Reading from the Srimad. Come on, Mara. That's where you jump in. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 5, Chapter 10, Text 19.
Oh, text 19.
Okay. Kṛṣṇa?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to read?
No.
I'm ready to go.
Usually you say something, but okay.
Oh, you mean like a little recap?
Well, whatever.
I mean, we could have a recap here, but we have this beautiful example of a person that was acting arrogant, a person that had lost touch, a person that got a little caught up in their material position, was insulting someone, and then that person, without resentment, without anger, out of compassion, spoke truth to that person, corrected them, but with an entirely selfless motive, right? Jadabharta turned to King Rahugana and said, you're insulting me and everything. Fact is, you're mistaking everything here. You're an illusion. I can point out exactly how. Now that I've said that, I've said my piece. I hope that will help you. More or less, that's where he was at, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, now tell me if you want me to keep carrying this palanquin, I'll do it. I'm fine. You're the one that's, you're an illusion here. I'm trying to help you out. So he gives him this clear, he downloads that clear truth, presents it to the king. And the king does something that people just don't do anymore in the world, right? He says, whoa, I was wrong. I really made a mistake here. Actually, you're the wonderful person. I'm the idiot here. He gets down off the palanquin, places his head at the feet of Jadabharta, and now he's speaking to him. Now he's saying, I made a big mistake here in the way that I spoke to you. Yesterday, he said this incredible verse, right, where he says, I'm not afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra. I'm not afraid of the trident of Lord Shiva. All these like,
yeah, that was a nice verse.
Universally powerful weapons. I'm afraid of insulting someone like you. That's a much worse fate. So forgive me, please. And now he's gonna start to inquire, who are you? Answer this for me. But can you explain that for me? It's good stuff.
All right, text 19. So there's a king continuing to speak. I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of all human society. You have come to give spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of Kapila Dev, the incarnation of God, and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world?
Interesting. So we'll find that answer in the next chapter.
Okay.
But now Kapila Dev, apparently the king was familiar with the teachings of Kapila Dev, which are the
interesting, huh?
Sankhya teachings, yeah, which have a lot to do with taking the material realm, breaking it down into different categories, which Jadabharta did in a kind of a simple way. But it was so realized that the king said, you know these teachings of Kapila Dev really well. You're representing them. I get it.
It's pretty amazing how like all these stories they reconnect like in a giant environment. You hear one random king from this millennia, another queen from this millennia, another avatar from this, and they all refer to each other. And they all are basically speaking of a same truth with the same principle. It's like you're working on the same engine of a car, or you're talking the same language, so to speak. They all fit nicely in place with each other, and they all fit not within the same context.
Indeed.
Is it not a fact that your good self is the direct representative of Kapila Dev, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead? To examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not, you have presented yourself to be deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you and am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in spiritual life? So, this is one of those places where you have to just sort of butt in and say that there's nothing wrong with being attached to family life, but there's something very wrong with it in the biggest picture of things. So nowadays people are just so adharmic. You have to make these statements like they're poo-pooing on being attached to family life. Most people, it's good for them to be attached to family because they're reckless and they have children out of wedlock and they abandon their wives or their girlfriends or their families. So yeah, this is a big issue. But if you see that as an all in all, this is what this is saying. So if you're not familiar with this podcast, you're listening, says, what's so wrong with being attached to family life? I thought that was a good thing. It is a good thing. But in the biggest picture of thing, we're here to be spiritually connected.
I think we can take that back to what we were discussing earlier about there's a code, there's like a coded message in this world. Okay. Right. And then but if you read that code through the key, then it makes perfect sense. Right? So the king is turning to Jadabharta, and he's saying, I get it now. You're a sage. You're a real yogi. You have come and you're representing these philosophical truths and you're speaking them. He also says something interesting here, right? He says to examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not, right? Because it's not just the body. It's like it has to do with your behavior and so on. To examine who is actually a human being and who is not, you have presented yourself to be a deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? Like he's saying, isn't it true that this is what you're doing? You're playing this role for the purpose of becoming an observer, of really being able, you're kind of stepping back from the world by pretending you're deaf and dumb. And it's giving you the ability to really observe people and you're taking in information. I think that's what you're doing, right? Which is an interesting thing.
It'd be sort of interesting to even do that experiment.
Yeah. for sure.
I'm just gonna move in this world and pretend like I'm insane and just observe everybody. See how they treat you.
Or even if we don't do that, I think it's indicating that to some degree in life we should play that role of the observer, right? Like not get lost in everything, but kind of observe, but then he says what then he speaks about what you're saying. He said, and then he admits he's saying like, you're more realized, you understand truth better than I do, and I'm in more illusion than you are, right? I'm in illusion, you're not. So he says, I'm very attached to family life and to worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge, right? So like I've gotten caught up in this illusion, you haven't. And but like getting back to your point about like the point is that there's as if we go back to that instruction that I said that Vishnu shared with Brahma from the Chatur Shloki, from the 4 key verses from Bhagavatam. Whatever appears to be a truth, if it's without relationship to Krishna, if it's seen separate from its relationship to Krishna, that's called illusory, right? And so that goes with everything, including our relationships with our family. That if it's not that one isn't supposed to maintain their family's relationships, or that even that one shouldn't be like deeply emotionally engaged with their family relations, but it's about the context through which you see that relationship.
Right. For me, I can say that my entire family experience, children, spouse, ex-spouse, animals, property, it's all a gift. Like here, Krishna is giving me as a Rubik's Cube to like figure out how to be like responsible. I figure this. I'm a gigantic Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
Crazy shape with thousands of colors and options for spinning. To figure it out, to not get swept up away in it, to be able to like be responsible, show up, be present, be loving, not lose your cool, check in with your rage, your anger, all your shortcomings. And at the same time, sort of understand, like, be like sort of like responsible, yet be detached enough to understand, like, you are not in charge of how things turn out. Also, it's an amazing gift to be Krishna, to practice Krishna consciousness. And you have to actually say, you know what? And ultimately I have to see like, and I can't be attached to it at the same time. It starts to really work you and refine you and sand you down. And I start to realize all these things were needed and are needed for my evolution.
Sure. Yeah. So it's not.
But you need it with the decoder ring, or else without it's just sort of like, oh, that kid's gone sour. That kid's doing great, and without the decoder ring, it's just a roller coaster of emotions and anger and frustration and joy and sadness and crying and laughing.
Well, that's such an important point. It's like if you look at it without the sometimes like those code decoders, right? It's like you slide something. Some of them were like
studying decoder things.
Some of them were like you would have like a sheet of paper that has like a whole, like the entire paper is full of paragraphs of writing, and then you have like this key that is like that's like a piece of cardboard that has certain slots cut out, and then you put that on top of the paper and you see what words appear through those slots, right? So something like, you look at family, right? Now, without the decoder on top of it, I look at it and say, that's the source for my happiness, right?
Yeah.
That's I read family, and when I read it, I says, this is where I'm gonna get my warmth, I'm gonna get my sexual pleasure, I'm gonna get the affection that I'm looking for in life, I'm gonna get those happy moments that I've been desiring. Family represents the source for my happiness. I need this family to find happiness. Now, if you put the decoder ring on top of it, in other words, if you see it in relation to Krishna, if you see it in relation to the source, you realize, and by the way, with that idea of like, that's my source of happiness, comes other ideas like, I am the provider, right? I sustain this family. And then when you put it on top, the decoder thing on top of it, when you see it in relation to Krishna, the idea is that rather than seeing my family relations as in the most unevolved way, I'm seeing it as that's just the source of my happiness. In a more evolved way, I'm seeing it as like it's my dharma to care for them, right? In the most evolved way, we're seeing that we're seeing it entirely. It's my dharma to care for them in relation to Krishna. They are Krishna's energy. My purpose in life is service to Krishna, that root of all existence. So we have to understand where's the source of sustenance. I'm not the source of sustenance for this family. God is the source of sustenance, right? My relationship with this family, happiness, there's nothing wrong with happiness coming through that relationship. But when I see that I need them as my source of happiness, now I've become confused.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, now I've become confused.
I like that.
Yeah, and so that key, we can put that same key on the top of anything, whether it's family, whether it's home, whether it's money, whether it's time and how I spend
such useful information. Even if you're not into Krishna, it's just like even if you're not into spiritual, it's useful information to relieve the suffering of the material world, the suffering of the mind.
That's what it's all about. So that key, that decoder ring, that was Vishnu speaking it to Brahma. Here's how you see everything. See it through this decoder ring, where otherwise you will be confused. And that's what happens in this world. We walk around confused. So even things that seem wholesome and good, like you were saying, like it is wholesome to be a family man, right? To be a family woman, to like honor the goodness of the family unit in all of that. It's more evolved than being like some completely reckless, person that doesn't carry out those responsibilities or value those relationships. But the happiness that we do arrive on that level will also be followed by pain and suffering, right? Because that the nature of the material. If I have a material attachment, it's going to lead to material suffering. If I have a spiritual attachment, then that's different, right? Even the things that would cause pain don't. It's a very different experience in nature. Okay.
All right. Continuing on. Text 21. You have said, this is the king speaking to Judd Bart. You have said, I'm not fatigued from labor. Although the soul is different from the body, there is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. You have also said the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual. Okay. But although in the phenomenal world, it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things. That is visible and experienced. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. It's amazing how like this deep philosophical conversation is going on in the middle of this journey holding a palanquin. All the other guys holding the palanquin are like, what the heck are you guys
we put
talking
this down?
about?
You guys are really getting into it now.
You were just going to beat this guy. What are you guys talking about? Why are you bowing down to this guy, Maharaj?
Maybe we can get some water around here while you guys are having that discussion. But so you know what's happening here is, so he's inquiring now. And I'll tell you something. That where this conversation is going right now is where a lot of the confusion, in like spiritual conversations lies. He's seeking clarity because sometimes we're speaking conventionally, like in a conventional context, and sometimes we're speaking in a transcendental context, right? So he's saying, well, now you said well, you said that he said you also have the first thing that he was talking about was the body, right? He said, you have said, I'm not fatigued by labor because I'm the soul and the body's never fatigued. I mean, the body may be fatigued, but I'm never fatigued. So I am not fatigued by labor. Even if I'm totally physically exhausted, I'm not fatigued. My body's fatigued, right? I'm just waiting for a response here.
Yeah, I said, okay. My face is away from the mic, so I said,
Oh, I see. Okay. So
but he didn't hear it. Sorry.
So if we're speaking conventionally, I am tired. If we're speaking transcendentally, I'm never tired, right?
Right.
And he's saying also, if we're speaking conventionally, there's a master and there's a servant, there's a boss and there's an employee. But if we're speaking transcendentally, neither is. We're just temporarily passing through those. It's like if I step into a car, I'm not that car. If I become the boss temporarily, I'm not the boss. So he's seeking clarification between when the conversation is being conventional or when it's transcendental. Okay. Now this next verse, this verse is huge.
Okay.
This is like the meaning of this. What's conveyed through this verse is a game changer.
Okay, hold on, everybody. You ready? Here we go. This is King Rahugana. My dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul.
Okay.
That is incorrect, because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within the fire, and the milk and the rice are automatically heated one after the other. Okay, he's using that analogy. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's saying like, okay, so is it right to say that the soul is never fatigued? Right. He's saying, okay, well, maybe the body is what's working hard, but doesn't the soul feel that fatigue? Ultimately. And he's uses this analogy, like if you have a pot and you have milk in the pot and you have rice in the milk, right?
Aren't they heated?
Did you heat the rice? No, you heated the pot. But when the pot became hot, it affected the milk. And when the milk became hot, it affected the rice.
Deep philosophical conversation happening on the trail here. Yeah. I'm just trying to picture this whole thing, what the other palanquin holders are thinking. My dear sir, this is text 23.
Hold it. Why don't you read the commentary to this? This is a really good commentary.
All right, this is the commentary of text 22. This argument put forward by Maharaj Rahugana is correct from the practical point of view, but it arises from an attachment to bodily conception. It can be said that a person sitting in his car is certainly different from his car. Hey, now you're thinking like Prabhupada, Stuba. But if there is damage to the car, the owner of the car being overly attached to the car feels pain.
Okay.
Right? Just like if you're very attached to your very cool vintage, whatever, retro classic car, and someone comes up to it and like, a keys your car, scratches with a key, ruins the paint job. I mean, you could even cry. Person you're attached to.
Or likely you become very angry.
You become angry. You might cry. Even if you don't get in a car accident and you're really attached to a vehicle and something breaks, then you get in a car accident and you wreck something, especially if it's something like people who really take care of like vintage cars. It takes a lot to fix it up. Then you might actually cry, even though you didn't get hurt at all.
Yes.
So the attachment is actually what's making us suffer, not the actual dent in the car. The dent is not you at all. Okay. So actually the damage done to the car has nothing to do with the car's proprietor. But because the proprietor has identified himself with the interest of the car, he feels pleasure and pain connected with it. Right? Like if I'm driving that 1969 Mustang that I just completely, refurbished, and I pull up to a red light and the guy next to me goes, "Hey man, you got a cool car." I think, "Oh, thank you.
I'm cool."
I'm cool. You think I'm cool.
I am cool.
It's a beautiful car. You think I'm beautiful. You know, I live vicariously through your opinion of my car. And that's a lot of our enjoyment in the material world is.
Sure.
Okay. So continue with that. This conditional state can be avoided if attachment is withdrawn from the car.
Uh-huh.
If it's a rental, I don't care. You think my car's cool? Yeah, I got to give it back on Monday. Then the proprietor would not feel pleasure or pain if the car is damaged or whatever.
Yeah, like in other words, you can have two of the exact same cars, right? The vintage red Mustang, whatever.
Yeah.
Sitting next to each other. I own one, I don't own the other. Right?
Yeah.
So if the car that and they're the exact same car, if the one that I own, if someone keys that one, I'm like, oh,
wow.
And if they just move over a couple feet and key the other one, it's like,
it's not your right.
It's not my car.
Oh, that poor guy.
Yeah. So I'm attached to one car, not even though it's the exact same thing. I'm attached to one. I'm identifying myself as its owner. I'm tying my identity to it, and now I'm prone to suffer due to its temporary nature.
This is the book to escape pain of the material world. What a valuable book we're reading.
It's so valuable, right?
How to escape the pain of the illusions of the material world. That should be the name of our podcast.
Okay. You want to continue?
Yeah. Then the proprietor would not feel pain or pleasure if the car is damaged or whatever.
If he's detached.
Yeah. Similarly, the soul has nothing to do with the body and the senses, but due to ignorance, he identifies himself with the body and he feels pleasure and pain due to bodily pleasure and pain.
Very interesting. So the soul, ultimately, it's never really affected. Right? So we're saying conventionally, we say, I'm tired because my body got tired. But did the soul get tired? No, the soul is like eternal. It's full of energy. The soul doesn't get tired. But the deeper that the soul identifies with the body, the soul will feel tired. It's kind of like, say you have a pair of glasses on that are like rose colored. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not that the world is rose colored, and it's not that I am rose colored, but it's the lens is colored that way. And when I see through that lens, and I'm not capable, like if I'm being real analytic, as I'm looking through the rose-colored glass, I'm saying I'm seeing through a rose-colored lens, and therefore everything is appearing rosy, although it's not. Right?
We're asking people to see, or the Bhagavatam is asking us to see through a new set of lenses.
And understand just understand the nature of the realm that we're looking at, and understand that ultimately I am beyond all of this, right? If I'm looking through the rose-colored glasses, I'm realizing these glasses are making it look this way, but this is not the way the world is. And then I'm not experiencing the rose-colored, I'm not affected by it, right? What if someone the next day puts green glasses on me, or the next day puts blue glasses on me, and I have emotional connections to these different colors.
Right.
I was walking down the street yesterday. It was like, yesterday was one of these spring days.
It was a good day.
Well, because
as far as the mundane lenses go.
Yeah, from the mundane lens. Because, you walk down the same exact street in New York City. One day it's gray. And it just seems like the world is dark and everybody's just stuck in this
I don't want to live.
Yeah, right. And then you walk down another day and it's bright and sunny and people are dressed different. All the trees are popping out with their new buds. Everybody's got a smile on their face and feeling good, right? It's just we slipped a different lens in there, and emotionally, like everybody changes, So this verse is saying, it's understand that he's inquiring right on this point. You're saying that we're entirely transcendental, but aren't we affected by the things of this world? Right. And in that case, couldn't it be said that we become fatigued? Couldn't it be said that one is a master and one is a servant? And so he's trying to go deeper. I want to understand this. I really want to.
It's interesting how the king probably had a whole lifetime of childhood trained in spiritual life, probably had like a king, a guru of the kingdom. And due to some good fortune, this came forward and he got to meet a sadhu. And now he's asking further questions to push him forward on his path. If you actually analyze King Rahugana's life now, he's having huge breakthroughs his,
Yeah, he needed a reminder.
He must be sincere. This is what happens when we're sincere. We run into walls. Things fall apart. And then Krishna puts a person in front of us or a book in front of us or a community in front of us. And we say, well, why did this happen? This isn't fair. It doesn't seem to be fair. And then we inquire further. And if you're going through some struggle, it's not because you're cursed. It's because you're the most blessed. It's goading us to go forward and dig deeper and climb higher. Can you dig
higher
deeper
and higher?
Higher and higher, baby. Din, din. You know what?
Can have that
I sing
one,
like
Ragnar.
12 of the same songs on rotation. It was the Sages podcast.
What do you say, Mary? Like, no, it's more like 3.
I was like, we know that.
Yeah, we know that.
We should make a playlist, a Wisdom and Sages playlist of just the songs I refer to.
We could do that, or we could find better things to do with our lives.
Come on. All those songs are good and can be sang in a Krishna conscious context, Mr.
Fair enough.
Kastuba.
Fair enough. All right, Maraji. Any takeaways today?
Like, I'm a good heart. She's a good hearted woman. Love. What's another one I sing?
It's okay, Raghunath. Set that aside. We have others. We're doing the takeaways now.
I love is like a spring.
Yeah, forget that.
What's that one?
We're not going there.
Oh, let your love flow like a mountain spring. I sing that like once a week on the show.
Yeah.
Probably more than that.
Ouch!
Oh. All right.
Okay, Mara.
You okay?
I know what it's like giving birth now. Oh.
Positive mental attitude.
Every mother out there is like, yeah.
No, you don't.
Positive mental attitude is to serve transcendence.
Okay.
I couldn't give birth. Meaning, if I could, I couldn't. That's what I mean to say by that.
Okay. Thank you.
I would schedule a C-section. Okay, go on.
Thanks. Krishna is the key. Read everything through the key.
Read it through the key.
Read it through the key. See it with a new set of lenses.
Devotees are in bliss, even if the material world is crumbling.
Yeah.
If they're doing it right, I guess. I mean,
they don't care that everything's crumbling on everyone else.
I know. No, I don't know, but maybe. I get where you're going with that.
Knowledge of Krishna cracks the code of confusion.
Crack the code. Crack the safe.
Without the decoder ring, we just have a roller coaster of emotions.
All right.
Double
mixing
analogy.
Metaphors, but okay.
Yeah, mixing. Ouch! Oh.
Material attachments lead to material sufferings.
That's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
The back of it could say pursue spiritual attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The soul is never tired.
No, it's not.
And
Mm-hmm.
you are not your cool car.
You are not your cool car. Are you sure? Oh man, my brother got a cool car.
What do you get?
He's got a couple cool cars.
You sound jealous the way you said that.
I was really
he's got a cooler
jealous.
car than me.
Vintage 1969 Chevy pickup truck. It was with rally wheels, and I was really impressed. Went for a ride in Brooklyn the other day. Oh, 3 on the tree.
You see how it always has to be different, Raghunath. You were attracted on one hand to the most modern truck, right, with all like the newfangled things on it, or the vintage, but never the
No, never like the 80s trucks. It was a bad year for trucks. Anyway, it's all temporary.
Just keep telling yourself that.
It's all temporary. Ouch. Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope I didn't squirrel it out too much today. I'm balancing this like hernia baby. Feels like I've got carrying a baby in me.
Really?
That's what it feels like. I'm carrying a baby. And the baby's kicking occasionally.
I don't think it. I think every mother's saying no. It doesn't feel.
No,
like
it doesn't feel. No, that's not what a baby feels like.
at all.
How do you guys know? How do you guys know what I'm feeling?
Because a woman could have a baby and a hernia. Both.
Maybe they've had a baby and a hernia. Okay.
Imagine having a baby and a hernia at the same time.
I don't know if you could even do that. 64. I love Dodge darts. Megan McDonald had a Dodge dart too. All right, everybody, put your favorite car on the board. I will really. Mary, ouch! Did you see her roll her eyes at me, Kṛṣṇa?
You
Can
deserve
someone
it,
control this woman?
You deserve it.
No one can control Mara.
Rolling her eyes is the gentlest possible way that she can respond.